Support for this podcast comes from the law firm of Davis Malm. Whether you're a developer, property owner, manager, or commercial tenant, their real estate attorneys know the lay of the land, not just the law. Learn more at davismalm.com.
WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. WBUR reporter Simon Rios. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, it's good to be back.
Yes, it's good to have you back. And you come to us as move-in day is, like 2 weeks away?
That's right. I am your expert on all things move into Boston.
Yeah, so backing up for a second, for people who might not know, right? Thanks to the number of colleges in the region, September 1st is basically the universal lease start day in Boston, with some exceptions, of course. So that means it can get pretty chaotic out there come move-in day. But Simone, you recently did a story called Moving to Boston, 10 Things to Do as You Get Settled. And we're going to get into some of those 10 things to help folks navigate the chaos a little. First, Simone, I want to talk to you about perhaps maybe the most important thing that people moving to Boston, especially renters, need to know, and that's tenant rights. Break that down for us.
Okay, so first, I think we have to point out that it is a seller's market. We have a major housing shortage in Boston. Rents have been skyrocketing, as we all know here in the city. So if you're coming from New York or San Francisco, you're probably used to that. But if you're coming from a smaller city or suburb somewhere, get ready to pay a lot and to have to compete for what's available. So in terms of tenants' rights, we have rights on paper. You know, the contract that you sign with your landlord has to be legal. You can't sign away your rights, but the landlord also has rights. They have the right to charge last month's rent, a security deposit. You can also get hit with broker's fees, and that can come out to a lot of money. Like if you're paying $2,500 a month in rent, it could come out to $10,000 up front. So that can be prohibitive for a lot of folks.
Oof.
Real quick though, if I want to talk about homeowners, because some people do come into the city, even students, and look to buy places right away. I talked to a buddy of mine, Oliver Castro McClung, who works at a local real estate brokerage. And I said, what do you tell your clients? And he said, look, this is a tough market right now. Inventory this past year has been at historic lows. Interest rates are much higher. As hard a time as you're going to have finding an apartment or rooming up with folks, you're going to have just as hard a time buying a place.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about move-in day itself, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say you're a renter. You have the U-Haul, and you're driving this U-Haul in and around the city. What should people keep in mind?
Well, if you're not a renter, stay off the streets that day.
Yeah.
Because it gets pretty crazy. And if you are a renter, look, I would say the first thing is check in with your landlord about what the deal is in terms of like parking those U-Hauls and moving trucks, because you're going to want to make sure that you have access to your apartment and that's not going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. The second piece of advice I would say, and this is something we all know about in the city of Boston, is this concept of getting sturrowed. And what that means is we have this beautiful avenue. It's called Sturrow Drive, right along the Charles River. Mm-hmm. And every year, perhaps on multiple occasions, somebody drives a box truck that's too tall underneath one of the overpasses and gets sturrowed, which is not a good thing.
So, Simone, I think we should say this in unison.
Okay.
So that it's burned into people's minds. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Do not take Sturrow Drive.
Do not take Sturrow Drive.
If you are in a U-Haul.
If you are in a U-Haul. Correct. This happened to me 6 months ago. I was going westbound on Sturrow, and sure enough, there was a box truck there that had recently crashed into the overpass. That really must ruin somebody's day. So stay off Sturrow if you have a big moving truck.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? What a way to start your stay in Boston.
I know. Welcome. Now, what about parking?
Yeah, so parking is another wonderful activity in the city. I know when I moved here, I had a car at the time, and I got parking ticket after parking ticket. I got towed a couple times until I finally gave up, and I was much happier as a cyclist in the city and somebody who used the T. But if you are bringing a car into the city, that's something that you'll want to sort out before you move here. Mm-hmm. You may well need a resident parking sticker that you can get for free from the city. Go to the City of Boston's website, figure out what you need to do on that front. But be prepared for a lot of frustration, because the closer you live to downtown, the more difficult it will be to find a spot. Matter of fact, I just read something. A couple in Back Bay was selling a $10 million home with a parking spot that somebody offered them $750,000 to buy the parking spot.
Good Lord. All right. Simone, let's get to the point where you're all moved in, you're getting settled, unpacking. What are some of the first things you should do?
Well, the first thing I did when I moved in back in probably 2002 was find the closest liquor store.
Listen, I had that mapped out before I even got to the neighborhood. I did a Google Maps. I said, where is the liquor store? Because I'm going to need
it. Yeah. And now we have weed dispensaries too, if that's your thing. But
hey, listen, I did that too.
Good man. Look, there's a number of things here. One is you have to figure out your transportation, how you're going to get to where you need to be. We have the T here in Boston. You know, you can get a Charlie card. You can either pay per ride or on a monthly basis for kind of unlimited rides in the city. Mm-hmm. I'll say also that when I was a student in Boston, when I first moved back to the city, I biked everywhere.
Listen, I tell people, man, Boston is such a fun city to bike through.
Yeah.
And I would highly suggest it. If you're new to this city, get on one of those, the blue bikes?
Blue bikes,
Get on one of those blue bikes. Just spend a Saturday riding around. I think you're going to love it because it is a really good time, for sure.
And now, I mean, over the last 5 or 10 years, the bike infrastructure has really expanded and improved across the city. So biking is a wonderful option. But then walking, like, I've been thinking about this a little bit, how you get to know a city. And I think there's no better way than to walk around.
Yep, very walkable city.
Yeah, we have the Emerald Necklace in Boston, which circles almost the entire city with just like immaculate, I mean, like real like landscape artwork that we have that just traverses the whole city, and to walk and to take it slowly and, you know, to get to know these places, I think is a wonderful way to start your stay in Boston.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back.
Did you kill Marlene Johnson?
I think you're one of the first people to have actually asked.
From WBUR and ZSP Media, this is Beyond All Repair, a new podcast about an unsolved murder that will leave you questioning everything.
Somebody should be in jail for murdering my sister.
A woman who's never been believed.
As long as they think I have done this, then they're not looking for who actually did this.
And that's what makes it a cold case.
No, it's a botched case.
And a search for the truth, once and for all.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Be careful. You're digging in a place that's been very peaceful for a while.
Do it anyway. Dig.
And we are back. Well, Simone, you know, Boston is a very walkable and bikeable city, but there are some people who like to drive, right? They want to keep their cars. What are some things they should know?
Okay, so the first thing is that when you're moving into Massachusetts from out of state, you have to register immediately. Like, there's no grace period. You don't have a year to switch your plates over. You're supposed to do it right away. I can't tell you how strict the enforcement is on that front because let's just say I've known people who didn't quite make the switch like immediately. Not recommending that. I'm recommending going and making the change before you move into the state. But yeah, I mean, we have the Registry of Motor Vehicles in Massachusetts. Go to their website. They've got all the information, all the documents you need, everything you need to do to set up an appointment to go in, get your picture taken, get your driver's license.
Okay, now we have some elections coming up.
Oh, yeah.
How can people get registered to vote?
If you register a car in Massachusetts, you automatically get registered to vote. Also, if you go for health insurance through the state's portals, you'll automatically get registered unless you opt out. In Boston, there's a preliminary election coming up on September 12th. And then the deadline to register for that is 10 days before, so September 2nd. And then there's a general election on November 7th. And the last day to register for that is October 28th. But one really cool thing a lot of Bostonians do is to sign up to be a poll worker. That's a great way to not only be involved in the democratic process in a constructive way, but to also get to know people who are like-minded and get to know your neighbors. And you make a couple bucks doing it. Not much, but I think the city pays a little over $100 for poll workers.
Got it. And so, Simone, we're having this conversation. There's a special holiday that occurs.
Are you talking about Alston Christmas?
I believe so. Jingle bells on the curbs.
Yes, Alston Christmas. When people are moving out, not just in Alston, because we have a lot of students in Fenway, a lot of students in Mission Hill. When they move out, they leave their furniture on the curb oftentimes and other things. You might find some artwork to put on the walls of your new place. You might find some records to listen to if you're into that kind of thing. There's something for everybody in Alston Christmas. I can't say I partake in the holiday. What I do partake in is a similarly associated phenomenon that happens year-round, particularly in the more wealthy communities where people leave out really nice furniture on their curb for people to come by and pick up. But be warned, when it comes to mattresses and couches and things like that, the city of Boston does have some, official warnings to look out for bed bugs and look out for cockroaches and things like that. So use common sense during Alston Christmas.
Exactly. And Simone, so you're sharing this knowledge with us. This is part of a newsletter project, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So back late last year, I was approached by some folks on our newsletter team. They wanted me and Amelia Mason, who, of course, an arts and culture reporter here at BUR, to be part of this team that would do a newsletter focused on the city, on the neighborhoods, on the basic things people need to know for new Bostonians, for newcomers. You'll go to wbur.org/newsletters. Scroll down, you'll find Newcomers Field Guide to Boston. Sign up for that. Every week for 10 weeks, you'll get an email about whether it's transportation, politics, culture. There's a history email that I put out that's going to have some really interesting stuff that I never knew about this city. It's been a trip to go about reporting this, and I'm really excited. There's going to be a lot more to come out of this initiative than I can talk about right now. But the first thing you can do is sign up for that newsletter, and it will be dropping real soon.
Well, all right. Simone, thank you so much for your work and taking the time to talk about it with us on The Common. We really, really appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's good to be back again, Daryl. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. That's WBUR reporter Simon Rios. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. If you like what you're hearing, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts, especially Apple or Spotify, and then rate and review us. We would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much ahead of time. And if you want to get in touch with us, hit us up on Instagram at WBUR The Common, or send us an email at thecommon@wbur.org. And now it is that time for me to let you know that The Common is produced by Caitlin Harrop and Franny Monahan, It's mixed by Emily Jankowski, Matt Reed, and Paul Vaitkus, and it's edited by Samata Joshi and Ben Brock Johnson. And our theme music is Me from Hisu. And from the newsroom of WBUR, I'm your host, Daryl C. Murphy. I'll talk to you soon.